Welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. Today's rundown is going out to our old buddy Adrian Leon, who shares the same birthday as I do, February 11th. I had a phenomenal birthday. We're going to talk a little bit about that after we get through the rundown. But first, let's get started with our rundown. It looks like the next James Bond movie is closing in on a very high-profile director. Variety reports that the producers behind the 007 film franchise want Trainspotting and Slumdog Millionaire director Danny Boyle to helm the next film. The site claims that no formal offers have been made, but Boyle is at the top of their list, so the job is his if he wants it. With his considerable body of work, he'd be one of the most talented filmmakers to ever direct a Bond film. Hiring top directors seems to be part of the recent trend with the franchise. The last two movies were helmed by another Oscar winner, Sam Mendes. One of the best racing games of all time is going out for another spin. This is amazing. EA has announced a remastered version of the 2008 game Burnout Paradise. It's coming to the PS4, Xbox One. It's coming with 4K support on the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, and will give players the entire original game plus all of its DLC tracks. There was a bit of a controversy, though. When the remaster was first announced just yesterday, EA mistakenly listed it as having in-game microtransactions, but they say this was an error and there won't actually be any in the game. It races onto the consoles on March 16th, and a PC version is coming out later this year. I can't wait for that. A beloved video game character is going to make his big screen debut next year. Sega and Paramount Pictures have announced that the big screen Sonic the Hedgehog movie will speed into theaters on November 15th, 2019. The project was first announced last year and is being produced by Deadpool director Tim Miller, with visual effects artist Jeff Fowler serving as director. It makes sense to have an animator in charge. The film will combine live-action actors with computer-animated characters like Sonic, so hopefully it looks good. As long as Sonic doesn't date a human, we're happy. Now, Star Wars fans will be able to argue about The Last Jedi all over again next month. Disney has announced that their divisive Star Wars movie will hit Blu-ray on March 27th, and we're all very curious to see how The Last Jedi holds up going forward. When it was released in theaters, it was very divisive, with some fans loving the new tone it brought to the Star Wars galaxy, while others disliking it as too dark and dismissive about what had made the franchise great. All that back and forth probably took a toll on the film's box office longevity. It made $1.3 billion, which is obviously a lot of money, but a staggering $700 million less than The Force Awakens, which is a huge drop-off. Crazy. All right, Netflix has another big sci-fi show on the way, and this one sounds a little familiar. The streaming giant has released the first trailer for their new Lost in Space series, a remake of the classic 1960s show. Rather than tell you about it, we're just going to show you the trailer right now.
Humankind evolves. It's how we survive. Through ice ages, plagues, wars, disasters from above. We adapt our skills, our languages, our very bodies in order to live. Earth is our home, but only so long as it keeps us safe. When this world can no longer serve that purpose, another planet, another colony, another chance. The rest of human history begins now.
Impact detected. Brace for impact. Brace for impact.
Danger, Will Robinson.
So what do you think? That was a nice, long, slow walk into a spherical spaceship there, wasn't it? The new show tells basically the same story as the old series. The futuristic Robinson family embarks on a mission to establish a new off-world colony, but as the title implies, they get lost in space. The show will be available to binge watch on April 13th. Now, let's circle back and talk a little bit about Danny Boyle as our James Bond director. I love this idea. And I have to tell you, I was thinking about this recently, and I think it was probably Logan that got me into this kind of mood. But the idea of Daniel Craig, who is an old bitter dude now, and he's complained about rather, cutting off his own arm than playing James Bond again. And of course, he's backtracked on that statement when they said, well, here's $200 million, Daniel Craig. He said, oh, okay, I'm good. But it is interesting to see him age and get bitter and cranky, and he always had that bitter face anyways, and it's aging with him. But I love the idea now of a James Bond who has really gotten old and has really had to deal with the world changing and alliances and betrayals and everything sort of being jeopardized. And I think that we can get a really cool, tight storyline now with our older Daniel Craig as James Bond. And I feel like that will be a nice way to kind of seal the deal on this guy's career as this character. And I think it could probably be wrapped up really well in one movie. If it's a great movie, though, I don't mind if he comes back and there's another one to kind of end it all. I've completely flipped my thought on Daniel Craig continuing on as James Bond. At first, I was pissed. I was like, how dare you complain about this unbelievably cool opportunity to be this character? Why would you ever say anything about being James Bond? But now I kind of see that could play into the character and into the role, and we could get some great filmmaking. And Danny Boyle has done fantastic work all over the map. I watched T2 Trainspotting last year and was blown away by the maturity of it and the depths of the emotional sort of undercurrents that we are dealt with these characters who had to go back and revisit stuff that was really hurtful for these characters 20 years after the fact. I thought that was fantastic, and it was filled with lots of love and levity and stuff in there as well. And Boyle is one of these visually amazing directors as well. He knows how to move the camera. He knows how to mix the media. He knows how to edit quickly and build exciting moments. And you can. Slumdog became such a massive hit that I think maybe you could sort of say it was overdone a little bit, like it was just too much in our face. But I dare anybody to go back and look at that movie and not see, the masterful filmmaking behind it. Boyle is proven. He's awesome. If he wants to do the job, I think we're going to get a great Bond out of that. I still think Chris Nolan would do a great job with James Bond as well. So I am psyched for Daniel Craig to wrap up his career, whether it's in one movie or two movies. And I think Danny Boyle is a good choice. Tell me what you guys think. Any comments or anything like that, Blake? Everybody cool with Danny Boyle? If he continues on for longer than one or two, I think then it's starting to we're starting to drag it out. But I still dig the idea of this guy that really revolutionized this property. I still think it's a very cool property. I grew up with Bond, and I've always loved James Bond. I know a lot of people are done with it. But what I think they have to do to be fresh after this kind of stuff with Daniel Craig is start right from scratch and maybe even make it a period thing where he's a young guy, a recruit or something, and set it in the 60s and just shake it up completely. And I think that'd be really cool, like the X-Men First Class movie or something like that. I think that would be really, really rad. Now let's talk about, I don't really want to talk about the Dungeons and Dragons stuff too much. I think all of us are just sitting there going, yeah, sure. Let's wait and see if this thing is going to happen. Chris McKay is I've seen lots of behind the scenes stuff with this guy, and he seems like a great guy, and he seems like he's in it for the right reasons, and he just wants to make good things, and he's dealing with huge IP, and he has made clever stuff, and I respect the hell out of that. Dungeons and Dragons is a bit of a slippery slope because although it has a name brand kind of recognition for a lot of people out there, I don't know if there are, intricate stories that most people would know about, and so it's almost too big, almost like Warcraft, which what's the director of Warcraft? David Jones. Duncan Jones. Yeah, Duncan Jones. Almost the same issues that Duncan Jones had with Warcraft. It's almost too big of a story to kind of shoehorn into a 2-hour picture, or it's too big of a universe to shoehorn into a 2-hour picture and still satisfy everybody that does know something about it and most of the people that don't know anything about it. But we'll see. We'll see. What I am excited about, though, is the idea that Burnout is back. And as amazing as it is to have Burnout Paradise come back, I think what's more exciting here is that EA has lit the fire, and we've got a little spark under the Burnout brand again. And I feel like this could be a test of the waters to see, 100% Burnout Paradise deserves to be played by a whole new generation of players on modern systems. It was exquisite back on the PS3 and the Xbox 360. I had it for both platforms, and I played it on both platforms. It's one of those games where you cannot stop playing it. It's such beautiful thumb candy, the open world exploration of it all. There's so many, and all the DLC too. I bought the Back to the Future car and stuff, and there's motorbikes, and there's so much freaking amazing stuff in this game. So it deserves to be played again, but Burnout as a brand has been really just sort of forgotten. And I actually prefer Burnout 3 and 4 to Burnout Paradise. I liked the more kind of beat the objectives and you unlock a bunch of new challenges kind of aspect of Burnout. It's so arcadey and so ridiculously enjoyable. Paradise was great because it was, never-ending and expansive and open world, but I just feel like this brand is ripe for a redo. It's been so influential on so many different racing games since it evolved into its third and fourth and then Paradise iterations. And I would hazard to guess that because what happened is a lot of the Criterion team that worked on Burnout ended up going to Ghost Games and worked on Need for Speed, and they put a lot of their learnings from their development in Burnout into Need for Speed, and also the Star Wars Battlefront flight experiences, which are phenomenal. That is an incredible group of people, and I would just love for them to win back the opportunity to build us something new with the brand that they created. And I hope EA is using this as a way to test the waters to see if this happens. And if that works, then maybe we'll see some of these other old classic EA brands like Dead Space and the Strike series. A lot of the things that I've been talking about are buried treasures recently. I've been surprised by how many EA games I keep going back to. I mean, the Street games and the Sled Storm and SSX. There's so many great EA games over the history of that company, and they've squandered a lot of those brands and those teams. So maybe this is the beginning of some cool change. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I don't know, guys. I love the character of Sonic the Hedgehog. I think he's a great character. I loved the Sonic game from this summer. What the hell was that called? Sonic Mania. Yeah, it was incredible. Such an incredible game. And Sonic's had a good year. Didn't really play Sonic Forces. Sega didn't really want to send too many review codes up for that one. They were getting hammered. But I love Sonic. I'm not a fan of Sonic's buddies, and if Sonic the movie has all like Amy and Big the Cat and Squishy the monkey and whatever else they got in there, Egg Chip, Egbert, or whatever. I don't know who else is in it, Tails and Knuckles, and I'm not crazy about all those other characters. I know that they have huge fan following with the animated work and all that stuff. I didn't watch any of that stuff, and when I played with those other characters in the games, I was like, I just want to be this cool Sonic guy with the awesome red shoes, and he's fast, And then they gave us all the three, my sad story of 3D action adventuring with Sonic the Hedgehog and having camera issues, me and millions of other people. So I don't know how this is again, right? They turned it into this massive universe with all these other characters, Sonic and Eggman, and then some humans that somehow make sense. Would be cool. And maybe it's Sonic, he comes to life out of the video game, and that's how they do it. That could be cool. We'll see. We'll see how that happens. I think the Detective Pikachu movie is probably going to be a big influence on this film, but also video game interpretations going forward. I'm excited that that Hollywood is starting to kind of work with people that understand video games a lot more to build these properties, and maybe Tomb Raider next month will be the first great video game movie, and we'll start to steamroll into more of this stuff. But I am skeptical, and I'm registering my skepticism right now. Star Wars coming to home video pretty quickly it feels like. But I think that's just a comment on modern distribution these days. We just are, we want our fix now, and they can sort of ride on the tail end of the buzz and the hype and the marketing around the theatrical release. So I understand that. I've had a lot of mixed feelings about The Last Jedi. I think it was one of the most extravagant pieces of work that came out of the movie industry in 2017, and I love the fact that it was a divisive film that got us talking and got us sort of reimagining things. I respect that about Star Wars. I respect that even about the prequels, even though I have a mostly hate relationship with the prequels. There's a lot that I really liked about The Last Jedi as a movie. I thought it was a tight, cool, slick movie, but I did share a lot of the same sentiments. And I saw it 3 times in the theater. I'm looking forward to seeing it once or twice more when I get it home. But it doesn't leave me with the same great feelings about the movie and the universe that The Force Awakens did or Rogue One did. The aftershock of The Last Jedi, you know, the ripples of The Last Jedi have not been extremely positive for me. I feel like there's been a lot of quirky decisions that were story-based and risky choices, but also flatly dismissive of mystery and world building and, you know, things that I had invested my hope into, and it bugs me, you know. And one of the first shots bugs me. I really don't like the way that Luke throws the lightsaber away at the beginning of the movie. I feel like all of that. I don't mind that he throws it away. I didn't like the way that it was blocked. I didn't like the way that Mark Hamill actually just tossed it casually over. There was no real sense of contemplation before he tosses it. And I think that is an analogy for the whole movie. You know, like there's a lot of stuff that just got thrown away in the idea of going in this new direction. And that's exciting. But I think it was handled a little too briskly. And it's exemplified in the way Mark Hamill throws the lightsaber. He just sort of takes it and tosses it, and the comedic timing wasn't perfect. And I feel like even if the movie had started with Hamill looking at the lightsaber, having a moment to really think about it, and then having a deliberate throwaway, it would have changed the tone of that whole sort of opening sequence. But you know, don't get me wrong. There's lots of great pieces in that opening sequence. I loved, you know, he rediscovering R2, and this could turn into a whole Last Jedi conversation. Needless to say, I have very many mixed feelings about The Last Jedi, and the Canto Bight sequence got more and more frustrating watching that over successive viewings. So it'll be interesting to see it on home video. But you guys let me know what you think. Do I have any comments? Anybody following up with some thoughts? Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to move on then. We have got a brand new This Day and Everything Cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for February 21st. Taking photos wasn't always as quick as it is now, but that started to change on February 21st, 1947. American scientist Edwin Land demonstrated for the first time his new invention called the Polaroid land camera, which could take a photo and then develop it inside the same unit. The process wasn't as quick as modern Polaroid cameras. It took 60 seconds for the photos to come out, but that was still much faster than the hours and days it used to take. Land sold his invention through his company, the Polaroid Corporation, and it was a big hit. Polaroid cameras and traditional cameras in general have since fallen from favor thanks to the rise of digital photography and smartphones, but they still have their fans. Digital technology has made something else obsolete, the phone book. On February 21st, 1878, the very first telephone book was published. It was released in New Haven, Connecticut by the local New Haven Telephone Company, but it wasn't as big as more recent phone books. It only listed 21 names, owing to the fact that telephones were still a niche market. But this made it easier to call someone, which was an important first step in making telephones more popular. Thanks to the rise of smartphones, digital address books, and web browsers, most people don't really use paper-based phone books anymore, which is good news for trees everywhere. Nintendo embraced a new kind of digital technology on February 21st, 1993. The first Star Fox game was released on the Super Famicom in Japan, wowing gamers with its 3D presentation. It was the first game to use the console's Super FX graphics acceleration, creating three-dimensional polygon models that were unheard of on a console at that time. All that extra visual oomph came at a cost, however. The game was on the rails, so players could only fly within specific predetermined areas. The trade-off worked, and Star Fox was a huge hit. The game found its way to the rest of the world on the Super Nintendo a few months after its release in Japan, and Nintendo followed it up with a series of sequels and spin-offs for other platforms. Oh man, that Star Fox getting all kinds of warm and tinglies, or warm fuzzies, something warm. I want more Star Fox. I would love to play some Star Fox on the Switch. Guys, I was at Toy Fair. I feel like 10 minutes ago, but it was, I think it was this week. I was just at Toy Fair. I came back from Toy Fair in New York City. I had a great trip. It was amazing. I went away for my birthday, and my birthday was on February 11th, and my wife and my daughter and I traveled around, and actually got a couple of comments and questions in there about, I think Spider-Man was asking, how did Blake shoot did he come with me? Did he shoot everything? How did I get all of the reviews and rundowns and stuff shot while we were traveling? I have fully embraced this this sort of vlogging kind of production lifestyle that exists out there on the YouTubes. Lots of people go out with a camera and a tripod and stuff and figure out how to shoot on their own. And I've been doing that over the last couple of years, getting better with how I frame and how I put my shots together and all that stuff. Learning a lot about the camera. But I bought that X100F from Fuji, and I took that on the road, and it was my still camera, and I also shot a bunch of stuff with it, and I had a blast with it, and it worked out pretty good. I bought an adapter so I could plug in audio sources, and yeah, so I'm fully sort of capable of going off and talking by myself to the camera that's set up with nobody behind it, and I get strange looks every once in a while, but I think everybody kind of understands that production has changed, not just for Electric Playground, but for lots and lots of other people out there. Somebody keeps asking how we survive with no views, and the question is, we have been steadily growing, and we have some supporters, we have some sponsors, and some people that chip in with super chats and stuff like that every once in a while, and then we also have some corporate partners and stuff like that we work with. And so we are just sort of trying to figure out a new business model as we move into being digital. And my thought, as I've expressed several times in podcasts over the last little while, is I'd rather make stuff than try to make deals and wait and make deals and wait for phone calls and then make stuff. So that's the idea behind Electric Playground Season 28, and it has been the last couple of years. Let's make stuff, and let's see how this all goes. But the trip was incredible. I went to Rome, which I'd never been to before, and we went to a town called Positano, and if you watched the rundowns from there, you saw how beautiful that place was. It's a little oceanside place, and it's a small town on the Amalfi Coast. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Talented Mr. Ripley, and I just loved the shots all along the coastline of Italy there, and I'd always wanted to go to one of these places, and so we went and had a fantastic birthday. And my wife found us a really nice hotel to set up. And it was kind of empty because it's a summer town, so we had it mostly to ourselves. And it was a bit chilly, but then it got super beautiful. And so it was great. And Rome was great. And I ate way too much pasta and way too much cheese. And I'm trying to eat a lot more vegetables now. And it's good to be back. But on the way back, we went to Toy Fair. And I went and shot a bunch of pieces for a top 10 of my favorite toys from Toy Fair, so stay tuned for that. We'll have that soon. And I shot a couple of interviews. But one of my favorite booths, as it has been the last little while, is Mezco. I stopped by there, and lo and behold, they handed me a bag of Toy Fair exclusive stuff, and in there was this Batman Ascension figure from the 112 line, which I freaking adore. I've profiled the 112 figures on our toy table segments on EP before. 112 is 1/12 scale, and it's kind of like a Hot Toy figure. So I'm going to open this thing up right now. It's kind of like a Hot Toy figure with cloth costumes and just a great kind of design to it. and lots of little accessories. And this Batman Ascension figure is sort of meant to be Batman in his early days. So I'm just, let's see. So I got it right there. There's the Batman Ascension figure. I don't know if I'm on camera 2 right now. Am I? Okay, camera 2 is right there. Hello. So Batman Ascension, this is the Toy Fair exclusive version of it. I'm going to take all the plastic off. And it's all black. The outfit's all black. And it's a cloth costume. That's the really cool thing, with a kind of a vinyl cape in the back. So it has the kind of almost like a leather armor kind of feel to it. And this is like the young ascending Batman with the long bat ears. And I just love it. It's almost like a modernized retake or redo on the idea of Batman from 1938, but sort of set up for today. So this exquisite. I wasn't expecting this little gift bag, but apparently Mezco had a press thing a couple of days earlier than when I had arrived, for journalists that had showed up, and I didn't know about that. I hadn't made it for that, and so they said, well, we gave these out to press that had showed up, so I got a nice gift, and they certainly know how much I love Batman and appreciate Batman. So this is definitely going up on my Vic's basement shelf. There's lots of great. This is the cool stuff, right? It even has a little bag to put all the accessories in. So there's tons of stuff. There's batarangs and grappling hooks and lots. Oh, there's like 10 batarangs. Lots of different hands. There's also a Bruce Wayne head in here, but I'm going to keep it on pointy-eared Batman because that is the dopest. I love it. So thank you so much, Mezco. That is our toy table for today. But what are we going to next? What's next? Rainbow Six. Okay, all right. We're going to a brand new story. Blake, well, I was in Rome and New York. Blake went to Montreal to a very cool event. Let's check that out.
Outbreak, it's a disruptive event we want to do for our community. It's a co-op experience, at 3 players with a roster of operators, and they will fight against the kind of viral enemy. Instead of zombie, it will be extraterrestrials. To be honest, as a developer, when we worked on the first pitch, I was turning around something like zombie mode, etc., but it was not disruptive enough. I wanted really to be punk, to be crazy, and we said, okay, extraterrestrial. We should go directly for extraterrestrial, something coming from outer space. So it's about a Russian satellite who impact Earth, and directly a parasite spread on the population.
We started to think about Outbreak one year ago, and we wanted to can give a gift to the community by having like kind of a PvE co-op experience where it's less stressful than the multiplayer competitive aspect of the game.
Even in terms of mechanics, it's different. Instead of play at 5, you would play at 3 because we want something more relaxed in terms of group making, for these 4 weeks, and you will fight versus the rhythm. It's a different way to play, so we'll have to adapt your rhythm, your pacing with your weapon, etc., to fight versus these archetypes. Archetypes are the heart of this experience. It provides game mechanics by the mix of these different archetypes. Some of them are dedicated and specialized, in close combat. Some others are able to trap you from distance, and root you directly to the ground. Some others are able to break directly the wall and path through blockers. Some others are also able to explode by themselves, so they are kind of a living grenade, but also able to breach reinforced position. And the last one is also able to buff, his teammate, extraterrestrial teammate, if we can say, and also able to spawn also more enemies.
To be totally transparent, we don't have plan for another event at the scale of Outbreak. But Outbreak was possible also because of Operation Health, because of the rework of our framework, of our pipeline. So expect, even if in normal season, like with normal mission, expect even more content. For example, season 2, we're adding a lot of new stuff. We're adding the PK ban, We are going to rework the observation tool. We are going to rework the diffuser. We are going to add new gadget standard because now we have become a bit more mature in the way we are approaching the development of the game. So that allows us to be able to release more content that is bug-free, you know, more stable and stuff like that. So even though you might not see something at the scale of Outbreak, expect to have season with more content and more variety, more gameplay for people.
Swapping mags!
Since a long time already, Ubisoft push already the developer, you know, to work on an online direction. Something Ubisoft was interested, you know, to conquer, to develop and explore. We want also to change something because we are going to modify the game, and it will modify also the eSport ecosystem. So now we want to do any major change at the beginning of the season. So each season will provide all the change for the entire season. Previously, we did the release for the season, and after, in the middle of the season, we did also some buff, you know, operator buff, etc. It's something we don't want to do anymore. We will still continue to develop the game and buff the game, but we want to do everything at the beginning of the season, so pro player will have the time, you know, to train themselves and discover all the content before the great final.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Six Invitational!
Everyone is kind of like, you know, it's crystallized around this event, and it's every time it's been like the peak of activity for our game. Last year, our record was at the Six Invitational 1, and we probably see this weekend like a new record for in terms of DAU, in terms of viewership for Rainbow Six Siege. So yeah, those moments are really huge for us.
Been pretty good so far, hasn't it?
Esports was in the middle of our passion. First, in terms of DNA, me and all my colleagues, we come from this family of gaming, you know. I was a Counter-Strike player, Warcraft player, etc. The esport and the multiplayer itself is in a part of my DNA since the beginning. So Ubisoft has been extremely strong because they offered us the opportunity and the freedom to do what we want, and we did an esport game by passion, you know. And it's paying, it's cool, but we are touching directly in our hearts.
What does those esports event means to me? It's very special because in my youth, way before I even think about working in a video game, I was a kind of wannabe pro player on Raven Shield, Rainbow Six Raven Shield. So I was in France at the time. I was in a clan. We had a team. You know, we were working. We were going to all the LAN in France with our computer, with our big CRT screen, and it was really hard, you know, because no one was really interested by Raven Shield as an esport at that time, and especially in France. So it was like it was super difficult. So today, more than 10 years after, being game director on Rainbow Six Siege, being here at the Six Invitational, in this venue with players coming from all around the world, with big organization, you know, starting to get into the game. It's like a dream I had that is realized by those players. So it's really like, yeah, it's emotionally speaking, like when I first entered the room this morning, I was like, boom. To be a good player of Siege, it's not only about, you know, raw skill, you know, being able to aim fast and put your crosshair on the head of an enemy. It's also about all the option and all the strategy and all the layer of strategy that you need to manage at the same time, and also like how this game challenge your own creativity. Allows for us, game designer, to see mechanics that we never saw before. Like for example, last year, we discovered the Ibana tricks. You know, the fact that on Clubhouse, you were able to shoot some bullets around the hatch of kitchen, throw an impact grenade to deny the Ibana pellets. So the defender found a way to deny the Ibana pellet by using an impact grenade. So it's really interesting for us as game designer to see next level, you know, usage of mechanic.
I'm extremely proud about the result. You know, it's insane. We were dreaming about it when we made the first concept of the game. You know, the first slide on PowerPoint. We faked, you know, some video to explain, you know, to the people, and we would like to be an esport game. It's extremely tough to do. We can't decide it, you know, only the community will decide it, but it was in our dream since the beginning, since the first 2 weeks of the game. But now it's real. It's for real, you know?
Yeah, it's pride of the team. I think the Six Invitational is really the pride of the team.
All right, that looked like so much fun, Blake. You looked like you got pretty cold, though, in some of the video footage that I saw. But Ubisoft is killing it with Rainbow Six, and that event and your coverage of it, Blake, has made me want to re-download and get back into that game. I actually did re-download No Man's Sky. I know, it's crazy, right? Maybe it's all the Star Trek that I've been watching, but I've been wanting to do a little bit more space exploration and check out that game. We're going to be taking a look at the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Injustice 2 in a very short while. I got a request to post some Batman Ascension pictures to my Instagram, so I was in the middle of doing some of that, and I'll finish that while you guys take a look at my review of Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 for the Nintendo Switch.
Did you miss me?
When I was finally able to stop playing Dragon Quest Builders, I moved on to Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo sent me the code just before I hit the road to travel through Europe, and it was kind of surreal, just like it was playing Dragon Quest Builders with all that medieval architecture all around me. I was playing Bayonetta with all of the medieval architecture. It's supposed to be this fictional European city in both titles, and I was in real European cities, and it was surreal to be touring and walking around and seeing all of these sites, and then coming and playing it on my Switch, or stopping in some coffee shop and playing it on my Switch, and seeing the beautiful architecture and the beautiful world building that's in both Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2. Now, you know the deal with these games. Bayonetta is a kick-ass femme fatale. She is just an amazing character, an amazing creation from the incredibly talented people at Platinum Games. And I can remember there was an event, I think in 2007, that Sega had in San Francisco, and they brought the Platinum Games people over, these rock stars of video game development that had been at previous companies, and they had banded together to build a new way of creating independent games that were AAA and just ferociously cool. And Bayonetta was one of the first titles that they showed off, and it was just like, what the hell are we looking at? And Hideki Kamiya is the lead on Bayonetta and one of the inventors and creators of this character in this franchise. And of course, he'd come from his work on Devil May Cry. And so it was really cool to see, you know, what the sort of next steps were going to be for him, but also this, you know, kind of great new step for Sega. I was excited about this company, but Bayonetta looked a little, you know, peculiar, a little strange. We haven't seen kind of the librarian look, with this skin-tight hairsuit and, you know, heels that are actually revolvers and guns that can blast away, and there's also all of this hand-to-hand combat and slicing and dicing type combat with huge, massive bosses and massive special effects, butterflies everywhere, rose petals everywhere. It was surreal. It was like watching a painting come to life. And it was an interesting tease. I didn't know what to expect. Of course, when the game came out, it was revolutionary, and it was a breath of fresh air. You know, still kind of convoluted in some of its storytelling, some nonsensical dialogue, interesting characters, some weird QuickTime events. But now, in retrospect, when you play it in 2018, you recognize that Bayonetta is one of the greatest creations that video games have ever given us. You know, a really true to the medium creation, this work of art that has stood the test of time, and also now several different interpretations, or at least several different ports for various platforms over the years. And the Nintendo Switch, it feels surreal to be playing this game as you're, you know, on a plane or a train or at a coffee shop on this little screen, but all of this detail is coming out at you. And yes, it does look a little dated. There's a little aliasing, and some of the character models look like they're from a different time, but holy crap does it move fast, and holy crap is it super fun to play, and the fluidity is still there. It's still perfect. It's just a wonderful experience.
Let's dance, boys!
And I think what really makes this special is that Nintendo kind of came and rescued this franchise. They didn't need to, you know. They brought it to the Wii U with Bayonetta 2, and they also brought the first Bayonetta game to that platform as well. And that's just a match you just would not think was going to happen. Nintendo and Bayonetta with its, you know, sexy, some might say sexualized, you know, lead heroine who, you know, you're staring at her butt for big chunks of the game, and she gets naked for big chunks, and there's hair flying all over the place. You just wouldn't put that in the you know, the Nintendo pantheon of characters that they want to embrace, but they have. And we now know that there's a third one coming for the Switch, and I'm ecstatic. I'm over the moon. Now, Bayonetta is sublime, and it's a fun you know, re-escape into a game that most of us that are watching this video pretty familiar with. And I would say that a big chunk of the people that are watching this review also checked out Bayonetta 2 for the Wii U, but the fact remains, Bayonetta 2 was on a platform that just didn't sell that much, so it didn't really have a hope in hell. But now, on the Switch, with this momentum that this platform has, it's sensational. Bayonetta 2 is sensational. I would argue it is the best looking game for the Nintendo Switch so far. It is outstandingly beautiful. And that's what blew me away about this game. It's outstanding on a big screen, and you should play Bayonetta 2 on a big screen. But when you play this thing on this massive game on this little screen, I kept looking around like, is anybody seeing this? Can anybody see what I'm seeing? This is blowing my mind. And it really does. It's such a fun, super cool experience, so weird and twisted, but when you're getting into that sort of buttery smooth hack and slash and shoot and combo and, you know, punching and kicking, and then all of a sudden your hair arms come out and they're punching and kicking and throttling bad guys all over you're just like in nirvana. It is just so freaking fun. And then you're rated after every one of these battles, so of course you want to go back and play these chapters again. Of course you want to go and, you know, up your game and be challenged a little bit. Bayonetta 2 is absolutely incredible, and I love that you can have this collection now on this platform. And, you know, this year in 2018, we'll get Bayonetta 3. I can't wait to see what Platinum has done with that. It's crazy. And it's irresistible, and it's so damn cool. And I encourage every Switch owner to at least go and check this series out on this platform and keep your radar out there for Bayonetta 3. For me, this is just absolute candy. I couldn't get enough. I was gorging as I was traveling, and I will replay these games again and again and again, and I just love Platinum. And a big chunk of my love and my adoration for that development studio is right here with Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2. I'd give Bayonetta 1 a 9 out of 10, and Bayonetta 2 gets a 10 out of 10. You can't not get these games. If you've never played them before, you are in for a hellaciously fun treat. One thing I didn't say about the Bayonetta games that I kind of was thinking about afterwards is that they're kind of like exquisite, you know, finely aging sports cars or fine wine or something, you know, and there isn't a lot of AAA game development that's kind of like this, except from companies like Platinum. So when you play them again, in retrospect, you recognize how you know, devilishly original and imaginative they were, you know, and it was surreal because I definitely reflected on being at the unveiling of Bayonetta. The Sega had this event, and I thought back and realized how weird it felt when I first saw it, and how strange the concept was, and then how seminal this character has become. Those games are must-buys. If you have never played them before, don't miss out on them. If you've got the Switch, that's where you want to play them because you can carry them everywhere with you. I can't wait for Bayonetta 3, and like I said, I'm so blown away that Nintendo saw the value in this character and this franchise and continues to support it, and I hope that, you know, you guys do too. Newt Origami, you've got some great things to say on the chat, man. Thank you so much. I do this like I always have, because I think a lot of people have questions about, you know, my longevity and why I've been doing this and how I do this, and I didn't do this I love it, you know. I didn't do this for any other reason than I really loved it, and I loved the you know, getting to know the video game industry, and the video game industry was, you know, and continues to be incredibly awesome and supportive, and they open their arms to Electric Playground and to me, and you guys tune in, you watch, you give me you know, support through your comments and your shares and your likes, and you know, it's I hope for that level of support for all of your dreams and all of your hopes and stuff. But honestly, I do this because I love it, and I certainly have taken moments to kind of reflect on what other things that I could do. But I haven't thought of anything else that I love to do more than this. Chat about games, meet with developers, review the stuff, you know, go to events, and it's a real privilege and a real honor, and I'm just grateful that I have you guys watching, and many of you have watched for a long, long time, and I really am grateful. And, you know that I do this out of the same dream and the same hopes for this content as I did when I started in 1994. You know, it's the same stuff, and I still love it. And it's pretty cool getting all this great feedback about the buried treasures that we've been posting, because They're fun to do. They give us a moment to kind of reflect on the disposable nature of video games, and we talk about these classic titles that are definitely worth our time to still play and check out. And it's a lot of fun. We've been having a lot of fun, and honestly, it's a lot of work, you know, and people keep saying, why don't you do the rundown exactly the same as you've been doing it when you're on the road and all that stuff. We have to make a choice. If we make a live show, we have to collect a lot of content and put it all together and get it together for live. And we can do the live show, or we can do the rundown, the old way that we do it. We want to give you guys both. And if on the days that we do the live show, we have to do the rundown the way that it is. Otherwise, Blake is busy. We have to shoot it early, and then Blake is busy cutting it and packaging it, and then we get that delivered, and maybe we can get 1 or 2 other videos out that day. But it would be impossible for us with the resources that we have right now to cut together the rundown the way that it always has been, bounce back and forth, and man different cameras, and you know, do different kinds of setups and stuff. Maybe we'll get to that. You know, maybe we will grow in that direction. But for now, what we want to do is give you guys EP Live when we can, and the rundowns on other days when we can't be together in the studio. And speaking of which, I'll let you guys know that are tuned in right now. We brought back EP Live today, but tomorrow Blake is on the road. He's going for another event, and we'll have some stories based on that stuff soon. So there won't be EP Live tomorrow or Friday, and he's also out of the office on Monday through Wednesday next week. So it's going to be at the end of the week next week that a new EP Live will come back, but we'll have regular rundowns the way that we've been doing them as well. So that's kind of how we're figuring everything out. But right now, it is time for Let's Play and Chat, and we're going to get into some of the comments and questions. Help us out by putting comment or question in all caps, and Blake will be following along a little bit there. I've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm going to put 15 minutes on the clock here so that we can do a Let's Play and Chat. Let's do this. I have my annoying alarm all ready to rock. Actually, I'm going to pause that because I'm going to set this down right now. Okay, so that's down, and 15 minutes on the clock. Let's play a little Injustice 2 with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in there now. Unbelievable. This blows my mind. Leonardo. All right, so let's go. Leonardo up against, let's go up against Red Mask, or Red Hood. Here we go. All right. Boom. I wish they had more of the, not just the characters, but new arenas and stuff like that with all of these new characters. I'm playing it on the PlayStation 4, just a regular one. It's not the Pro. Any comments or questions that people want to jump on? Okay. To what? Over this way? Okay, so because I'm playing this way. Thanks, buddy. All right, let's see this. It's so crazy. I haven't actually seen the supers from the Turtles yet. I watched the trailers and got excited, but I don't know everything that happens. I don't know if I can. I'm playing as Leonardo, and I don't know if I can play as the other. This is my first time, is what I'm saying. My first time checking this out. So I have my super moves available. Let's see what happens if I press it. Let's go. Yes. Oh my God. This is so freaking cool. Oh man, that's awesome. Turtle power. Did they yell turtle power? I don't have the sound up. Okay.
Feral81 wants to know if you have anything special planned for the Film Fury channel this year.
We're going to be doing more Film Furies. We got busy with launching EP Live. I think what happened at the beginning of the year, Blake and Bear and Johnny and I kind of talked about it. We said, look, EP Live makes sense. Let's launch it. And so we launched it knowing that I was going to be taking time off for my birthday and our little holiday there. But we launched it, and we basically said, let's just go for it, and let's put as many out as we possibly could. So we basically do an EP Live every day. That's a pretty hard schedule to keep up, to be honest. There's a lot of content that's going into every episode of EP Live. But we did that, so that got pretty hectic just before we launched, and Johnny also upped his production on Happy Console Gamers, and also there weren't tons of good movies in January. So we didn't see a lot of movies together. I did 1 or 2, I think, reviews. So I'm sucking because I'm not concentrating. But needless to say, Johnny and I have been talking. We've been missing working with each other. We're seeing a movie tonight. We're seeing a movie tomorrow night. So there will be some new Film Fury reviews on the channel. And one thing that we will do, I don't know if we're going to be doing it with these two because the timing won't work, is that I'll also be running some of the Film Fury reviews in EP Live if the timing makes sense, you know, as the movies are hitting theaters kind of thing. And also, can't wait to have Johnny back in the studio here with me. I love working with that guy. Definitely looking forward to having Bear on and lots of other friends from around the industries. I didn't get a chance to interview my buddy Randy Falk at NECA when I was at Toy Fair, and it just got too crazy. I was too busy just running around trying to capture footage of a bunch of different stuff. So I'm going to follow up with him and do a Skype interview. But I'm digging the you know, how we can incorporate this technology and how we can make it feel like the people are right in the studio with me. It's really cool, and stream it live like that. It's really impressive. Oh.
I have a question from Paladin 1.
Okay, Paladin 1.
He wants to know, will you review the live-action Full Metal Alchemist on Netflix?
That sounds like something I'd want to review for sure. I've got a review of The Ritual coming up. I reviewed Altered Carbon and the Cloverfield Paradox. Definitely watching a ton of Netflix. I also want to revisit Star Trek Discovery. I don't know if Johnny's had time to watch all the episodes, but I want to go back and sort of talk about my my thoughts on the conclusion of the season. I've got like 1 more episode to watch, and then I'll probably talk about that. But there is a ton of stuff. You know what I did watch, and I think it makes sense to wait till the part 2 comes out, but I watched the animated Godzilla movie on Netflix, and that was pretty cool. There was some cool stuff in that movie. There was a lot of screaming, and it looked great, though. It was pretty fun. But there's a second part that's coming, so I think I want to wait till that comes out, and I'll review them all together.
I have a question from Leighton JT.
Yeah, Leighton.
He wants to know, are you going to review any more bad movies like The Room?
Oh yeah. Oh, like do like watch in real time, and I think we should do that. That was fun. Not to watch afterwards, not to endure during. But that video turned out pretty good because that was the look of shock on my face for that whole thing. Absolutely.
I have a lot of other bad movies you can watch, Vic.
Okay, cool.
And Adrian Leon just gave us a super chat of $5.
Oh, Adrian Leon, thank you so much. Are you spending your birthday money on EP? You rock, buddy. I'm going to select a new fighter. I will still be a turtle, but I'm tired of being shot in the face by Red Hood, so let's see what else we got. I want to be a different turtle, but I don't know if you can. You must be able to.
Leonardo.
Somebody in the chat was saying that you pick the turtle and then you would go to like the customization part of the character to choose which turtle, like the way you customize the character's gear and with other characters.
Okay, gotcha. So press the. Oh, but I have to custom.
Yeah, Paul Adamson says, edit your character. You can change your starting turtle.
Okay, so edit character. I have to relearn these games every time. I think you guys know that. Every time I go back into these games, it's like, oh, okay, I gotta learn all the menus again. Okay, so I'm back to the turtles. I'm in the look at how many characters are in Injustice 2. It's crazy. I can't believe it. Okay, so I'm gonna be a different turtle. Okay. Common. Where do I change that though?
Wouldn't it be where your sewer mask is? Because that's how you tell them apart.
I only have one though. Do I have to earn more?
Adrian Leon says the weapon you give the turtle is the
the weapon, of course. There it is. Okay. I love nunchucks. So here we go. Yes. That is awesome. I hope you guys have been playing this game. I think this is like, we've only done, I don't know, 20, 25 EP lives. This has been on 5 of them. This game is incredible. Okay, so I'm Michelangelo. Here we go. I want to fight Batman. Why not? Here we go. Let's do it. And we'll do it in Gotham.
Warco A wants to know if you're going to do an EP convention.
An EP convention. I actually had, I did want to do that with Fan Expo. I was talking about potentially going down that route. It's become incredibly complicated and competitive in the convention space. And obviously we had more resources at the time, so I had more people that could have helped me put all of that stuff together. Now I feel like I'd be chasing a brand new business and a brand new huge dream. Not that I would be opposed to it, and if anybody wants to reach out and talk about how we would put something like that together, I've certainly got a lot of experience with how to put together a cool convention. But I think I'd rather focus on doing the stuff that I'm doing for the most part. That's a big part of why we don't have T-shirts and mugs and all the other stuff too, is that every one of those decisions in a day means that I'm finding less time to review things or play things or edit things or shoot things or go to places that will get content. So there's lots that I still want to build and create, and lots of people that I would love to work with, but it becomes a time decision thing. And a lot of that stuff opens up. You have more time and more opportunity. Like when the creation of EPN was really about, like the idea of the brand of EPN was really about all of the different pieces of media that we were creating. We had Vic's Basement, we had EP Radio, we had both shows. We also had a team of editors and stuff that said we want to build a podcast within the Electric Playground framework. And so we had all of these different things that was what we were building, and Electric Playground and Reviews on the Run didn't really cover it anymore, and so I came up with the EPN name and bought EPN.TV, and it just all seemed to make sense and fit, right? And so when we had that bigger team, there was time to kind of think about other kinds of business opportunities, and there were some deals that were close that didn't happen, all of which sort of feeds into my, I'd rather build stuff than constantly get hyped up and engaged with people that just want to talk. And something actually happened. I don't know if I talked about this on the show, but I actually got an email from a good dude that was really looking forward to bringing EP back to television and doing some stuff. And we got to the point of talking about budgets and everything, and this was going to happen about a year ago. And he sent me an email that he had been let go at the broadcaster that he was working at, and that was, I hadn't expected to hear from him again because it felt like nothing was going to happen there because I hadn't heard in a long time. And that was the catalyst for me at the beginning of last year, saying, look, let's just make this stuff because it's fun. But that was a nice kind of wrapper around it, and also a kind of a comment on how precarious it is to kind of wait for these corporate entities to make decisions right now, especially around media. And it was great that it was nice to receive that email. It was a nice closure, but it also made me realize that it's better for us to just build this material and try to have fun and make cool things, and hopefully we'll find partners, whether they're viewers or whether they're corporate alliances that make sense, that want to support what we're doing, and get that, and honestly, like, what I will say is that the more support that we have, and I think I've proven this over the last 20 years, the more we'll invest into making more cool stuff, and there will be more people employed and more people in front of the camera, and that's the way that we've done it. But obviously, we've got to take all the learnings that we've got with sort of modern production and recognize that things have changed, and you can build a lot with less these days, But yeah, it's interesting how life serves up those moments for you where you recognize that time has been bookended. Is everybody appreciating how awesome I am at Justice 2?
Yeah, they love it. Warco A wants to know when you're going to review Metal Gear Survive.
I guess I will bug Konami for a code. What's the word on that? I haven't. Are people? I mean, I'm sure there's some reviews out there. There's got to be a Metacritic out there. I haven't been rushing to get a code for that one, partially because I've been traveling, but I am curious. What's the 17? What was it?
2.7 user score.
2.7 user score. Were there any actual critic reviews? Pardon me. I think that's one of my first burps in on live stream. There you go.
Okay, they don't have enough critic reviews yet to have a score, but
yeah, I don't.
The highest.
Konami definitely didn't send me an email saying, "Look, we want you to review."
The highest one is 60.
Okay.
And that's the highest one.
Yeah, I feel bad for. There are good people at Konami. It's not like Konami is just filled with angry people in suits. You know, like there are good people there, and I feel bad for the developers and the PR and marketing folks that just want to see great things get done. Because there's just a lot of bad blood after the Kojima stuff, and you know, Konami should have taken the higher road and been cool, and they didn't do that. Batman wins, as is what's supposed to happen, but I wasn't playing as Batman, so my ego bruised. Let's do this again.
Cowabunga, I'm fighting Batman. You need a new catchphrase.
Batman's got the purple cape there. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Pretty cool.
Begin.
All right. There were a few comments and questions that I didn't get to at the beginning there. Maybe there's one we want to pull out from earlier in the chat. Thank you all for joining us live, by the way. And for those of you that are watching the archive, we do this show live. And it's usually at 1 p.m. Pacific or 1:30 p.m. Pacific. We tweet out usually the day before or the day of. So follow us on Twitter. Follow EP Daily TV on Twitter. I'm Victor_Lucas on Twitter. For announcements that way, and also our Facebook page is Electric Playground, facebook.com/Electric Playground. So it is a live show, and we love the comments and the feedback and the questions and all of that stuff. But we also read all of the comments and questions and people saying we should do the rundown the old way when we see it in the archive as well. Okay, I'm gonna finish this game, get destroyed by Batman, and I think that's gonna wrap it up for today. Yeah, he's doing me in. Okay, I got one more special. There we go. Get him! Bath! Pow! Bam! Bonk! Boom! Kapow! Turtle power! So cool. Oh, and then he throws a batarang, and that's it for me. That is Injustice 2, ladies and gentlemen. I love that game, and I am so grateful that you tuned in today. Thank you for your comments and your questions and your feedback and your super chats and your sponsorships. And it's wonderful to do this. It's a real thrill and a treat, and it's a great privilege that I don't take lightly, and neither does Blake. We will be back with new EP Lives for you next week. But the rundown comes back tomorrow. We'll have a classic episode of Electric Playground on the weekend, and there are new reviews and new features and segments and this day and everything cool. Lots of new content for you. Thanks for watching, everybody.